Vi as a cop should have worked. Before Arcane Season 2 came out, they announced a few things. The trailers for Arcane Season 2 are extremely misleading about what the season is about. The Arcane Season 2 that those trailers promised is not the Arcane that we got. But this video today is about Vi, even though I'm strolls into the party months late with the deflated balloon. You can expect spoilers for Arcane Season 2, obviously. I haven't played League of Legends. I'm not going to. All I know about the League of Legends lore is Arcane. I want to talk specifically about the Vi the show presented, and not just Season 2's Vi, but Season 1 Vi, and how I honestly think her being a cop should have been a natural progression of her character. Because before Arcane Season 2 came out, they dropped a lot of promotional material. One of those is the reveal that Vi would be closer to her League of Legends counterpart and would be a cop. And to me, that's like, wow, I don't know what those words mean, especially in that order. To me, that was actually a very, very interesting at the time. That was a very, very interesting place to take her character because I can see it easily. And unfortunately, the way that the show does it is possibly the worst way they could have handled Vi as a cop. So in Season 1, she grows up to be this very tough character, this very distrusting character because she was kidnapped by the enforcers and forced into this prison where she spent basically her whole childhood in this prison for something she didn't do just to keep her out of the way. Zon are basically second-class citizens to Piltover, and Vi especially because she doesn't fit the mold, especially the Kiraman family. When they see her, they're like, ugh. What is this thing doing here? They look at her like she's unclean. Like they can tell from the doorway that she smells bad. And it's like, how can this type of character become a cop? The answer lies with Jinx and her actions at the end of Season 1. The thing about Jinx is that Vi could have stopped it. It's completely ignored that during the Tea Party scene, Vi directly led to Jinx having the break that she did. By calling out the names of her dead family members, by not stopping when she was clearly like having a mental break. Like Vi never reflects on if she hadn't done that, if she had tried a different way, if she hadn't bombarded Jinx, if she hadn't done this, then maybe that she could have convinced Jinx in a softer way. I get why she did it at the time, but like looking at the results after, Vi played a vital role in what happened at that tea party. And she was just trying to like bring Powder back without realizing that Jinx is also a part of her. She was so convinced that she could bring her back that there was something of Powder in there when Jinx is Powder. Like they're the same person. You can't just like separate them. Just like how episodes 3 through 6 and then 6 through 9 of Season 1 focus so much on Jinx and Jinx's mentality and Jinx's mental state, I feel like Season 2 should have been the Vi season because we needed to see inside her head a lot more than she did for her actions to make sense. And just from this guilt that she should have had from the Tea Party, this could have led her to becoming an enforcer. Not to oppress her people, not because she's a class traitor, but because she feels like she needs to pay for something. Like this is her penance. Not for Jinx being her sister or Jinx leading the revolution, but for her part in what happened that night. Vi should have had a whole breakdown where she was like, if I didn't do this, maybe things would have been different. If I had accepted Jinx, maybe things would have been different. But none of that happened. I thought when I saw the promotional material, and I didn't argue, but I was like, I defended it at the time because I was like, let them cook. Like, how could I have predicted that they couldn't cook at all and actually burn the whole stew? And I thought it would be her guilt that led her to becoming an enforcer. Like, she would feel so guilty that she felt like she owed Piltover her power, her strength, at least for a time, in order to make up for her part in what was done. That's what I thought would happen, especially in the first episode where we can clearly see that Vi feels guilty. But I don't feel like she feels guilty for that. She feels guilty because she is related to Jinx. That's the impression that I got from Season 2, which I feel is very out of character for Vi. Especially when Vander, when she was a kid, taught her the lesson to, clean up her own messes, clean up her own mistakes. She was going to turn herself in for what happened in Jace's apartment in Piltover. Did the writers forget this? Vi is very self-sacrificial, and I feel like being in prison for all those years wouldn't have had her grow up, especially when in episode, 9? Vander's ghost tells her, hey, you still block with your face, which means that she hasn't changed all that much. She hasn't been able to change all that much, and I feel like this would be very in line with her character for her Season 1 self. Vi's role in the Tea Party and how much responsibility she has in Jinx's actions is for someone else to dissect, because I don't want to. It should have been her guilt that drives her. The whole season, every single episode, it should have been her guilt that drives her. She should have been waking up in the middle of the night thinking, I could have done this, I could have done that. So in my version of the story, it would have been something that no one but herself could understand, because I feel like they should have also had people questioning why she became a cop, like the Underground Barons. First of all, the Underground Barons were so wasted. They were frankly a waste of time because they didn't do anything. But I feel like they could have played a vital role. Like, it would be the same as season 1 where she was going to turn herself in, but Vander stopped her, except she's more grown up and still in that mindset. And I feel like the Barons should have been the ones to confront her and been like, what are you doing? You're from the Undercity. Like, there should have been people that pointed out, like, her hypocrisy. Us as the audience, us following Vi, we would have known from seeing how tormented she was by this, why she has become a cop. We would know, but the Undercity wouldn't know. It's not something that people can understand because only Caitlyn was there. And Caitlyn would be busy being manipulated by Mbessa. I would keep all of that stuff in up until the point where she heel turns, honestly. I feel like it was like going somewhere, and then they just decided to reverse her story to make her one of the good guys again. But this is not a Caitlyn video. I just feel like it should have been Vi looking for Jinx, doing her part to try and force Vander's lesson into her head, right? Take responsibility. I feel like she should have had like a narrow-minded focus. Like, she wasn't focusing on the people when she was being a cop and an enforcer and pushing them aside and asking them where Jinx was and pushing them up against the wall. It was like Vi is breaking inside and taking out her own guilt and hostility on the people of the Undercity. And I feel like this would really, really be such a compelling season that we didn't get. Like, seeing Vi gradually get more and more violent as she breaks more and more inside because all these counselors are dead. And everyone up in Piltover would still look at her like some Undercity bum. So she wouldn't fit in anywhere. And they would use her. They would agree to make her a cop because she knows the Undercity best. But at the same time, she's not one of them. They would still look at her like a bum. And it would weigh on her. It would weigh on her just as much because she would feel like all of their stares and jeers, it's like they know. They know that I'm responsible. Like, even though I haven't said it, I'm not in jail, I'm not in handcuffs. It's like every single stare and look, it's like they know that I did this. Vi should feel extremely guilty the whole time. And it should get worse and worse, just like Jinx. It should be Vi against the Chem Barons. And the Chem Baron underlings, or maybe the Chem Barons themselves are like, what are you doing? But she can't hear them because she's in her grief, anger, guilt bubble. Like, she's convinced herself that she's supposed to do this. The way it is in the show, Vi is a cop for 1 hour of television? She's like a cop for half a day. Like, she puts on the uniform and then gives up. And it's like, why would you do this? And not only is she a cop, but she doesn't confront anyone that's like, hey, class traitor, how you doing? She doesn't have anyone to push back against her. I feel like she should still have the confrontation with Jinx, with Caitlyn, and Isha can be there. But it should be completely different. Like, it shouldn't be Vi thinking that she needs to put down Jinx. Every time she sees Jinx, she should flash back to the tea party. Like, this should be her boogeyman. Caitlyn wouldn't understand. She just can't. She literally can't understand. She would probably think like everyone else that she feels responsible for her sister and she needs to pay that back. And she wouldn't be able to understand based on being someone from the Undercity, the one who's always had to be the leader. And she is the one that's always had to carry the baggage of her younger siblings. And the series sort of does that. I mean, they touch on it. They touch on it in the prison scene. Because Jinx leaves, and Vi is like, oh, I fell for it again. I'm always doing this. I'm always falling for it. And instead of going deeper into this mindset, they're like, oh, well, lesbianism. It's like, why do you hate your characters talking to each other? Caitlyn is a single child who has never had to take care of anybody. And this should have caused a rift between them, a giant, huge rift between them. Caitlyn had both parents. She never had to be the leader. She never had to be the big sister to anyone. In fact, she was the little sister to Jace. So she was the one that was always being taken care of. She even was able to, well, it's sort of by her own merits, but let's not pretend that her last name didn't matter at all in her becoming a cop. Like, she's never had to work as hard for things as Vi has. So she can't understand Vi. Like, they're both going after Jinx, but for very different reasons, and this would itch at Kate. Because she just can't understand why and how Vi doesn't see things the way that she does. And Vi wouldn't be able to explain it to Caitlyn. I think they should have a talk where they try, but Caitlyn just can't see it. She can't see it because she's a single child. She didn't have a Vander. She had her mom and her dad. Maybe Caitlyn asked something like, "Are you with me to take Jinx to justice?" And Vi just can't answer because that's not why she's doing it. That's not why she's a cop. It's like season 1 where they're trying to oil and water, right? In Vi's emo arc, sometimes you need to tell. Arcane Season 2, I think, is what happens when you take the show not tell advice to its extreme. Because, yes, show not tell, but sometimes you really do need to tell. Or things like this happen, where we have to interpret why the emo arc happened. We have to, because I'm not going to do it, but people look at interviews and external information in order to figure out why the emo arc happened, because in universe, we don't know why it happened. We can guess that it was because her and Caitlyn broke up, but her and Caitlyn just get back together anyway. They don't talk about it. And we can guess that it's because of Jinx, but she and Jinx go off on an adventure anyway, and she doesn't bring it up with her. Like, why does that arc happen? Based on what happens in that mini arc and what Vi says, can you answer the question of why that arc happened? Because I don't think anyone can. Actually, I think you can, but I feel like I actually want to see it, because I feel like if commenters answer that question, I will get wildly different answers from every single person who answers the question. But Vi in this mythical scenario, because it's not going to happen, Vi versus the Cambarons, she feels like cleaning up the Undercity, like enforcing the idea of peace instead of letting them come to peace naturally, is her penance for what she did. This is what she has to do to pay for ruining the peace talks in her eyes. Like, because in Vi's mind, imagine hearing what happened, that the council was so close to voting for peace when that happened. She doesn't know about Jace and Silco's talk. She doesn't know about, she wasn't there. She doesn't know about Jace's talk with Vander's statue. No, not Jace. She doesn't know that Silco had a whole talk with Vander's statue where he was like, he said that quote that lives rent-free in my head. Nothing is so undoing as a daughter. Like, this is Arcane from Vi's perspective. She was not there for any Silco moment. So in her eyes, they would have been just about to vote for peace when the attack happened. And if maybe Vi was able to calm Jinx down, maybe if she accepted her, etc., then this wouldn't have happened. And that would have fueled her guilt for the whole season. And so it would be Vi versus the Cambarons. And they should call her names, and it should get under her skin, but her guilt should be much greater than being called a traitor, being called a class traitor. If it were me, I would spend the first 3 episodes breaking down Vi's mindset, like showing the viewer that she's being tormented by this night. Like, this is what fuels her reason to become a cop, and also Vander's words to her, and how she's grown up the whole time, and her being in prison for so long, that Vander's words are literally the only thing left she has to cling to, because she failed to get Jinx. In fact, she might have even helped shove her in the opposite direction, because Caitlyn's mom died. She's also isolated from Caitlyn, further isolated by their different mindsets. I would spend a lot of time with her and Caitlyn, because even if she tells Caitlyn, it's like, why do you feel guilty over this? Like, you didn't do it. You were also kidnapped by her. You know, you also had to suffer in the same way that we both had to suffer in the Tea Party. There's no possible way Caitlyn would understand. It would be like a moment in season 1. Do you remember in season 1 when Jace was fighting those robot things, and then it all just stops because he fires and hits a kid, and you see the expression on his face, and it's like, oh, the reality of the situation is setting in, and then the kid falls. And it's a long fall. And it actually shocked me at the time, because animation especially doesn't show things like that. And they showed it. They showed the whole thing. And I felt like that was an extremely powerful moment, because at that moment, I felt just as shocked and like so surprised as Jace must have been. And it should be like that. Maybe she's like ripping apart a food stand or something, and then she sees a terrified family. Like, she looks around, she sees people looking at her the way that she looked at the enforcers that killed her parents. Like, she has become one of them. It's not until then that she realizes it, that she snaps out of her funk It's not that she snaps out of it, but it's like the shock is like cold water over her head because she's become the exact same thing she used to hate. In my ideal version of Arcane, I think it would need 3 seasons, to be honest, to tell the story that they told. Because in my hypothetical version of season 9, I think Vi should run away. She leaves the gloves there and runs. And it doesn't matter because anyone who tries to take them, they can't put them on. They're too heavy. Vi is just built different. And maybe this is where, hypothetically, you can have her stumble into the shack where Vander's letter is. It would be his apology to Silco, but it would not mention anything about their past because I would erase it. It would just be the apology that he never sent. So they never got to reconcile. And that literally is all there needs to be about that. And I would have her see that letter, and then I would have her go to Caitlyn. Why does Vi have to apologize to Caitlyn? It wouldn't be like that. It would be like Vi seeking comfort from literally all she has left. I don't think she would know where Echo is at that point, and I don't think Vi would be able to bring herself to lean on Echo like that because he was also part of the little brother squad that she always had to look after. But maybe that could be a good plot point, that Vi learns that Vander was not always correct, and she's able to go to Echo and lean on him for once. I think Vi just watching Echo and Heimerdinger talk physics or math or whatever they talk about and like try to invent things would bring her back to better times. And it would also give these characters much needed dialogue. Maybe we even get more of the Firelights at the same time. Like that would be her emo arc. Her just distancing herself from absolutely everything and needing a breather. And if we want to split, like this is 2 timelines. This is either the timeline where she goes to Echo and she acknowledges that Vander wasn't always right and to actually grieve for him and ugly cry for him. And then Echo's able to also mourn Benzo. Let's not forget that Echo's also been the leader of the Firelights this entire time, which means he's also had to shoulder all of these people. So if anyone would be able to understand Vi's mindset and what led her to spiral so bad, I feel like it would be Echo. But if we're going to have that fork in the road, timeline B is where she goes to find Caitlyn. Like maybe Vi explains what happened. She explains how the people of the Undercity looked at her. Even in season 2, in the season 2 that we have, she can't wrap her head around why they idolize Jinx so much. Even though she did this horrible thing to me, Vi would spark this desire to understand. It would be the first time since her mom died that she would want to understand this other side. Her glimpse of the Undercity was very brief, and it was kind of clean because Vi just kind of took her on a tour of it. And I feel like her going herself, she wouldn't have someone to protect her. And I feel like in season 2, she lost that desire to understand and never really got it back. Vi only saw the Undercity through the eyes of Caitlyn because everything was so brand new to her, but it would also be brand new to Vi, who hasn't been there in so long. It would be like a journey of rediscovery for both of them. That would be the end of season 2 for me. Like, the Mbessa stuff should still happen. The Jay stuff should still happen. The Victor stuff is for someone else to tackle. The Warwick stuff and the Piltover freezing over stuff can both wait until the next season. Like, even Sevika, there's definitely a missing scene somewhere between them. Because Jinx, they have that talk, and I really, really, really like that talk, the initial talk, and then she makes Sevika that arm, and then they don't have an actual conversation again after that. Sevika never learns that Jinx killed Silco. We never see how she feels about that. She follows Jinx, but Jinx doesn't seem to have a choice in it. She just follows Jinx, and Jinx kind of just accepts it. But I wish they had an actual conversation about Silco. I really, really do. But they didn't because characters are allergic to talking to each other in season 2 for some reason. When I saw the promotional material for Cop Vi, I had a vision. I had the vision of where it could go. But that's not where it went. Unfortunately, they decided to have Vi wear the uniform for merch reasons or something. I don't even know why she put on the uniform because she had it on for literally half an episode and then she quit being a cop forever, which I don't think that's how being an enforcer would work. It would literally be preferential treatment because she was endorsed by Caitlyn and that's why she became a cop so quick. Because Caitlyn was like, no, she should be because I say so because I'm a Kiraman. I feel like her deciding to abandon the Force, that would be a stain on the Kiraman family because she would be proving them all right. Like, yeah, we didn't want her to become a cop for this reason, and yeah, it came true. But that's how I think that Cop Vi could have and should have worked. If you like this video and you like to hear me yap, I have plenty of other videos and a whole channel right there waiting for the subscribe button to be pressed. I don't want to touch Victor because my opinion on Victor is that he should have died. I understand he is a League of Legends character, or he's based on a League of Legends character that he was supposed to become, But at the same time, I don't think there was anywhere to go for Victor himself, to the point that he just gets taken over by the Hex Tech and his personality kind of gets warped, and they also make him a wizard for some reason. Like, everything has to be connected. It's annoying when you think everything has to lead back to one string. It's the most annoying way of storytelling. I don't think it should have been Mel that protected the council. I think it should have been Victor. I thought it was Victor initially. Like, Victor's able to see the rocket because the Arcane does some weird whispering in his head, and he's able to do some arcane magic shield thing, but at the cost of his own life. And you can still have him be this League of Legends character by having Singed get a hold of his body. That way, Victor is gone. Which would lead to the teaser, which is at the end of the actual season 2, which would lead to the teaser of Singed apparently being able to successfully bring back his daughter from the dead. Both Warwick and Victor should be the initial test subjects for that. Because if he gets a hold of Victor's body, this would give him direct access to the arcane thing that he put in his body. This would be able to let him bring back Victor from the dead. And I feel like Jace would have to come to terms with that. I think they had a fight at the end of season 1 that they never really resolved, and I feel like that would be really tragic if they never got to resolve it, because Victor gave his life. And so that would lead into season 3, where you can still have the arcane turning people into puppets thing, but Victor is dead. And then I would have had Singed go, and like lick his lips. Because they would have had a funeral for Victor, right? They would have buried him, and Singed would have rolled up with a shovel. All right, I got this. I'll take it from here, you guys. And then in season 3, I would have introduced the Black Rose and Mel being a magical child. Her assistant being kidnapped, I would have kept that scene in. I really like that scene where she's trying to warn Mel, but she can't. And then Mel gets kidnapped. I would have had Jace look for her, which he didn't. But he can't find her, and he's just lost. I guess my thing is I would break everybody. Also, if we have the Black Rose stuff in season 3, we can give more time to that. I feel like Mel and her brother especially needed more time, because I loved that part. But it was like, it just came and went. That all should have been season 3, but it isn't. I did the outro like 10 minutes ago, and then I kept talking. Okay. If you like this video, like and subscribe. Leave me a comment on what you think that Vi's emo arc is about, because I'm sure even mine is different from other people's. But I want to see. I want to see without looking at other comments, without cheating. No cheating. Just tell me what you think the emo arc was about. Don't go back and rewatch. Don't read any interviews, no articles. Go straight to the comments. Tell me what you think the emo arc was about. I'll see you guys next time. Later.